history of Salt Spring is brought to you by Slag Lumber.
Yes, that's the way it begins. L, that's the next letter in. E, the middle of the thing. G, gonna hear it again. G, yeah, you heard it before. Slag Lumber Store. Look around, a whole lot more. Never find prices like Slag's Lumber Store. Lot more. Never find prices like Slag's Lumber Store.
This our first show of 2011. This is Dave Phillips here. The first show of what's the name of our show again? Salt Spring History? No,
The History of Salt Spring.
The History of Salt Spring. I can never remember what the name of the show is. But it's 4 o'clock on Friday. It's us, and our guest this evening is outnumbered 2-1 by Dave's, but I'm outnumbered 2-1 by Roland's. And would you care to introduce yourself, young lady?
Hello!
The Queen.
Hello!
No, it's the Auntie.
It's Auntie Kate. I'm Auntie Kate. Come in to see this Dave and that Dave, and I think there's another Dave kicking around here. We're Dave heavy.
That's
Dave
right.
heavy today.
But it's kind of interesting to think that we do go back a few years. I mean, you guys go back generations, but I go back 40 years here, and I just love listening to you sing and party and carry on and the beginnings of your work here on Salt Spring. When did you first sort of hit the stage on Salt Spring?
Ooh, I think it's about somewhere in 1980. I came back from Yellowknife in 1980 and started singing shortly after that with the band. Dave was in and Tom Borer.
Okay.
And Arnold Banger.
Oh, yes,
Remember
of course.
Arnold Banger?
Was it as late as... Didn't I hear you sing in the 70s?
I might have done a talent show or something at the Harbor House. But if they might have drugged me up there, kicking and screaming. But
with Myrtle Byers?
No, give me that good old Mountain Dew.
Yeah, or Brown Eyed Susan, or whatever she used to say.
Mountain Dew was one of her favorites.
Yeah.
Yes, I played that song many times with her.
Yeah.
So what were you doing up in Yellowknife? You weren't up there with Donnie Morrison, were you?
Yes.
Were you really?
Absolutely. Him and Willow.
Oh my God!
Yeah, there's some history for you.
Well, he brought her back from up there, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think he took her from here up there and then came back with her. But Donnie and
And
Willow.
it wasn't Lawrence Hughes and Mary Harcum up there at the same time?
Yeah, they were. But they were. I don't remember them around much. They must have been working out of town.
I know. Well, Mary's told me a few stories of that era. I mean, Lawrence is actually born the same day as myself, August 1st.
Ooh.
Now, one of the favorite greetings, I was going to say, now what sign are you? But my brain leapt ahead to one of the favorite things you ever said to me. I was standing on the street corner, and you pulled up in some big fancy car or another, and you said to me, I felt so honored, you said, "Hey, sailor, got a light?" I've never forgotten that. That was one of my favorite golden moments. I thought, she's picking me out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I must have been holding back because I used to roar up and say, "Hey, buddy, want a date?" I probably was going easy on it because, like, we were friends. You know.
So when did Kathy Roland become Auntie Kate?
Ooh, that was about early 90s.
Right. So you played on stage and sang and were recorded and everything like that as Kathy Roland before that?
Yeah, I was in Club Mongo.
Right.
You know, so it was the name of the band was Club Mongo, so it wasn't like the Auntie Kate band or the Dave Roland band or anything. It was Club Mongo.
Well, when did Doug Saunders start playing behind you?
That was after I quit.
Yeah, after
Right.
David left. David
So
left.
that would have been 86 or 7.
About in there, yeah.
Well, Doug has now just left the island, just segueing into a bit of politics here after some of our well-meaning environmentalists crushed the possibility of the roasting company roasting any beans down there in the Central Island. Doug said to heck with Salt Spring, and he's moved back to Texada Island.
Yeah, he moves his family up there, and I think he's
I've
still
even
working.
visited them up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's still working with the company in Vancouver, though. I
That's
believe.
right. Oh yeah, Salt Spring Roasting Company hasn't given up.
No.
But so you had Doug, and hasn't he actually for years followed you throughout Alberta and gone on gigs and?
I think he did a tour out with us to Alberta. I don't know if he did it twice.
He made it sound like he was stalking her or something.
Yeah.
No. I mean, delightfully
Followed us
No,
around.
not stalking.
Couldn't get rid of
Okay.
him, you know.
Yeah.
No, he came to Alberta with, and I think the
Buffalo is very benign. He's very.
the buffalo didn't do well on the prairie.
No, right.
It took a couple of rounds out of him.
Well, he's a West Coast boy.
You know, it's a different altitude and just atmospheric stuff. He was.
But
down
what
for
about
the
you?
count.
How could you stand playing in the prairies? You did okay there, didn't you?
I can't. Yeah, it takes a couple of days to really.
No, but I mean the audience.
Oh, the audiences! I take no prisoners, man. You just slay them all. And
But
leave
you've been there a
town.
lot, haven't you?
Yeah. We have a
Edmonton,
regular,
Calgary, what?
regular circuit out there through Edmonton. We do Blues on White, and Calgary. We played.
Oh, my sister lived really near. My sister passed away in March, but she lived very close to White Avenue and just loved going. Yeah,
Yeah. That's our favorite place in Edmonton. The only place we play in Edmonton so far, and
Right.
Calgary and the prairie towns. Winnipeg. We went out as far as Winnipeg and played.
Did you do little towns too?
Yeah.
Smaller towns?
Yeah, yes. Anywhere they wanted us, they call, we go.
And so how does that work? Do you have a booking agent or do you have a
No.
publicity person or how do they hear
Tom
about
Boulder
you?
does a lot of that.
Tom handled all that end of
and
things,
like
eh?
we used the rhythm section in Calgary.
Okay.
So those are they're local guys, and they'd say, "Oh, well, there's this cool gig at Bow Island," or so you get information as you went along.
Okay. Well, the last woman of note that we had here that was singing was Sandy Prophet, who lives right at the very end of this road. She's terrifically local. Where do you live now? Victoria? I
Yeah,
think?
I'm living in Victoria out in Furoil.
Oh, yeah? Do you like that?
Yeah, it's all right. Anywhere I land is home. When you're on the road a lot, it's sort of like it's a hotel room or it's someone's couch or whatever. So you just sort of make do with where you're at. So yeah, Victoria's fine.
Well, if I can offer you a compliment that's not just musical, and your brother's here, and I'm Herc's not here, which is sad, and he never did try to pound me out. But I'm not going to make a pass at your sister, Dave, but I'm just going to tell her how good looking she is.
All right.
You look great.
I do the best I can with what I
No,
got.
but I mean, a lot of people, we don't need to think Janis Joplin or anything, but a lot of the ladies that get on stage and play it, it's a hard life.
Yeah.
But it looks really good on you. I mean, man, you look
right.
younger than you did 10 years ago. Don't you think she does?
She looks good.
Yeah, you're looking great. So what's your secret?
Well, false teeth, dyeing my hair, little Botox here and there.
The last bit's a lie.
And some good earthy singing. And are we going to hear some of that?
Well, not live. We're going to hear some recording.
Yeah, that's right.
We don't
Because
have a
obviously her
band.
chakras are all tuned.
Yes.
This
Yeah,
woman
yeah.
is glowing.
Yeah, do you want to play a tune?
Yeah, please, could we?
Sure.
Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Want to
Here's
introduce this one, sis?
I think we're going to do something off the very first CD, a little thing called Food for Thought, and we're going to go to the last cut. was written by a guy named Bob Broder. Sorry, Bob. And it's called I Can't Help Sing the Blues.
We're back in a flash. Now, about these Rolands.
What about these Rolands?
Could Herc carry a tune in a bucket? Could he sing?
No. Let me put it this way. No.
Well,
He could play the harmonica.
Oh, could he?
Yeah, he played the harmonica.
Yeah.
And he could sing, but like he never.
Played the swinette a bit.
Yeah, and
And Jorgensen thinks he's in your family, and he plays the harmonica.
Yes, he's.
And what about the others?
He's one of the adoptees.
Yeah.
I got a lot of them.
I hear it quite frequently.
What about the other? Oh, the actual brothers and sisters.
Well,
the
yeah,
blood,
John, the
blood.
twins, or
I think they all of us can carry a pretty good tune. I don't think one of us is a real clunker, but they just need to get their chops up. That's all. I don't think anybody else plays anything other than Dave and I.
Lee played guitar for a little while.
She did. Yeah, she would love more than anything to play music and be very musical, but she
never got there.
No, not enough commitment, I think, to it.
Now, what about previous generations? Was there music? I don't remember Jack. I mean, I worked with your dad and hung out and had fun and everything, but I don't remember him playing anything, did he?
No, he was a singer.
Was he?
Uncle Lloyd played the drums and the guitar.
Oh.
Yeah, that's right.
So was there homemade music when you guys grew up, or did people...
No.
There wasn't, eh?
There
Just singing.
A couple of Dad's friends would one of the times, or they would show up, usually just itinerant alcoholics.
Yeah.
Buddies.
Drinking and singing.
Lumley or somebody?
They'd show up with a guitar or an accordion, and they'd drink and sing and play for a day or two until Mother threw them out.
I have a cassette recording of a New Year's Eve party with my two cousins, Bill
Harris.
Bill and... it's Bull. What was his real name? Ray.
Yeah.
His nickname was Bull. Bull
Yeah.
Harris. And then oh man, it's hilarious. But they're singing like Tiny Bull.
Oh yeah, okay.
In the wine, eh?
Yeah.
There was some drinking going.
Well, the first Islander that I remember playing was Daryl Jorgensen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Georgeson.
Georgeson.
Yeah, and he tried to be Hank Snow, and he tried to be all these different things. But, as far as coming here in 1970 and around the Harbor House or going down to the docks or whatever, there was old Daryl strumming away.
Yeah. They used to come in the Harbor House once in a while just with their guitars and pick and sing. Andy Mitchell, who's always a...
Yes, we've mentioned Andy Mitchell. We interviewed his son here, who played... who was the naked kid in the Rocky Horror Picture Show? Rocky? Was that Rocky?
No, I don't know.
What was the kid's name that was born? Maybe somebody could phone in. Anyway, Andy's son was here.
Did he play the naked kid?
Yeah, he was a handsome young guy.
And was he naked?
For the show, pretty near. Yeah, he was. The Rocky Horror Picture Show was all that you could expect it to be. There was a local group that did a really good job of it.
All right.
And we had some of the kids in here, and they sang for us. In fact, that young lady that just left was Brad and...
Oh, God, I can
Brad and... Susan's, what's her name, played it in the original, remember?
Oh, no.
Okay, well, these memories aren't working too well.
No, these are not my memories. I don't know them.
But Andy Mitchell, Tears in Your Ears, you remember him singing that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you do with the drunken sailor?
Somebody's phoning in, but I don't know if it does any good. We're on the air right now. Can we help you? Brad and Janet, thank you very much.
Damn it, Janet.
Okay, bye-bye. See,
it was Janet.
Yes, we got a listenership out there, you see. Okay, that's wonderful. Now, about those clam bakes and those cookouts down at the beach and all that, Roland family stuff, that was good, eh?
That's where the singing would break out, too.
Yeah.
After that sort of...
And my Panoka friend Elmer Beekle used to hang out.
Yeah.
Remember Elmer?
Elmer, of course, I remember Elmer, yeah.
He's now a building inspector over in Duncan somewhere. That's what he does. As does Tony Seward. It was, you remember Dennis Seward that worked on the ferries?
Toby, yeah.
Toby's the son, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I went to school with Toby.
Did you?
Yeah, right from grade 1 right on.
What are some other names that you went to school with?
Perry Booth.
Oh, okay.
Jim Pringle, Patty Taylor, Robbie Woods.
Oh, okay. So that's your generation. We're not going to... Are we allowed to ask a specific age?
How old I am?
Yeah, I'm 60.
64, I think.
You're 50? Oh.
Yeah, because I took some of my seniors to sign them up for the seniors activity center.
Oh, yeah?
I said, well, can I come as a support person with these people? And they said, oh, you're supposed to be a senior. And I said, oh, well, I guess I'm out. She says, well, you have to be at least 55. I said, I'll be 55 this year. She said, you're in.
I know. As soon as I turned 55, I got into the swimming pool cheaper. And this year that I turned 60, I got the pension. I went for it.
Man.
Isn't that something?
Well, I got freedom 55.
I'm going to have freedom 110. Now, with a second family and a mortgage, I figure I have to live to 110 to at least break even.
Dave, that's double dipping. None of that around here.
My wife came home from the bank the other day and informed me that I now have a seniors account at the bank, so I don't have to pay interest.
Oh. Well, how old do you have to be for that?
Another dubious distinction.
How come my wife never gave me one?
59, apparently, because that's how old I am.
I'll have to ask her about that. I think she works down in the credit union. Yeah. My wife?
Yeah, I think so.
That's what she says, anyway.
that's where she says she's going every day.
Okay, so we got Club Mongo. Whose idea was that?
Oh, that was a collective thing.
We started out, Tom Bowler and I and Bruce Eason, which is Sue Newman's older brother.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Arno were a band called Bogwater for a few years.
Okay.
And then...
It's kind of like the Foggy Bottom Boys off of Old Brother Where Art Thou, right?
And then Greg Pocker joined us, and we became Seabiscuit for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Then
You're refreshing my memory in all this.
Greg exited, and we formed Club Mongo out of the ashes of that. And then sometime after we'd been playing for a year or two or more, I guess, Sister Kathy came along.
Mm-hmm. But wasn't Ricky Donos in some of this, or did he have guest appearances, or is that just current times?
He played with...
Nunez.
He played with Casey Kelly, the artist formerly unknown as Huckle.
Correct, yes.
They played together a lot.
Right.
So they were sort of one camp, we were the other.
Didn't his brothers, the Nunez brothers, there was three of them, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Eventually. And they hooked up with the Two Doug Rhodes and called themselves Full House.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Two Doug Rhodes and three Nunez.
So when did you take your talent off island? When did you decide that this is something that can't be contained by Saltspring Island?
Club Mongo got off the island a few times, but just sort of
like
locally.
to Crofton.
Yeah, like Bender.
give us some credit. Come on.
No, but I mean like abroad. When did you go abroad? When did you decide to take it on the road?
In the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, because after the first CD, I think we did the first CD in 94, and we sort of had to sort of shop it around.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was around then.
And are you glad you did that?
Yeah.
Has it been a good thing?
Oh yeah.
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 It's been well worth it.
It's a blast. It's just a blast. I like going out on the road, and I hate coming back.
Really?
It's like being on that elastic band. You run it until it's just tight, that snaps you back home.
So how many miles? Like, so this is 2011. You're talking. Most is 21 years anyway, or something.
Yeah.
How many miles do you think you put on?
Oh, 198.
That's just on the liver.
But are we talking planes or buses, or how do you travel?
In the van. Everybody piled in one van.
Because didn't Valdy have a bus, and he had a driver, and he used to go around the country quite a bit with his own bus, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah.
With the hometown band.
I think so, and there was a fellow that lived in the South End. Was it McCarroll or somebody who used to drive his bus all the time?
Dave
McCarroll.
Yeah.
He didn't drive the bus. I think he was more like the
it's another
road manager or something.
Right.
He didn't drive the bus for them. I can't remember who was the driver.
Yeah, there's a fellow on the island. I can't remember his name. Maybe somebody will phone in and tell us. But he's working as a commercial driver here right now. So
who was the pedal steel player?
Oh, that's right.
His brother. Used to be a bus driver for the guys.
Played with the guy for
Rob,
years.
No.
Yeah, Rob.
I don't remember.
So this is kind of a business question rather than a shall we say an artistic question. But when you've got a band and you're an artist and you want to go on the road, how much do you decide to take with you as on a bus or a van, or how much? And then what do you decide to rent or hire or lease where you go? Like, how much do you load on that van, people and equipment?
Well, that's sort of the very first time out. We went with the full band, everybody from here.
And all the gear, and all the amps, and all the roadies, and all that?
Yeah, if it doesn't fit, then you can always rent equipment.
Right.
Amps and things like that. But you have to have your own instruments. You have to have your people and all of their
So who physically
baggage.
gets on the phone when you hit town and arranges for all that stuff? Did you have to do any of that?
Rent the equipment?
Yeah. Like
Well, they do it on their own, you know, like if it was the drummer needed a kit, he'd have that.
He does
taken
that
care
on
of.
his own.
Or a lot of time, Tom Bowler does a lot of that stuff in
So
well
he's
in
quite the
advance.
organizer, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And where did I
got
see
his
him
finger on the pulse.
Yes. Oh, okay. I saw him on. Was it Scrooge in the last couple of years? Didn't he do Scrooge or something? Tom Bowler.
Oh,
I think he did a few years ago.
what was it? No. They did They did a show.
That's right. Or they did.
Tommy.
Right. That's
And
what
was
it
that
was.
character he played in?
Oh,
there?
the horrible uncle.
Yes, that's it.
The horrible uncle,
So it's very
the
Scrooge-like.
perpetrator. Yeah, an
Scrooge-ish.
evil character. Yeah.
Scrooge-ish. Is that a word? Scrooge-ish?
Of course it is.
Scrooge.
He was a very good bad guy on stage.
Yeah, he was.
Tom Bowler. Yeah.
So is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking of. I just wonder because I don't know any of the actual. There's strategy, which is getting out there on the stage. Then I know from being in business, there's logistics. You know, who gets the diesel fuel there? Who buys the tires? Who ordered enough dynamite? You know, that's the kind of stuff I'm used to.
Yeah, Tom Bowler's your man.
Okay. Now, are we going to have a little bit more of this lovely ladies?
We got to go do some commercials, and we'll come back with a song.
Okay, wonderful.
And what song will that be?
I think, it's never too late to learn something new, so why don't we do some back to the books?
Okay. First, some commercials, though.
Hi, this is Gene Blooms. You're listening to CFSI 107.9 FM, broadcasting from beautiful Saltspring Island.
You're back.
I want to ask you about going to Hawaii. You've done it?
Many times.
And when was the first time you went over?
1992.
How'd they receive you?
Oh, well, they bust out the bells and the bangles.
Well, was there any kind of a notion of connection or family or anything like that?
Well, that's why we went down.
Right?
Because
there was actual people that were actually connected to you, or just...
Yeah, but a year before that, my Uncle Paul had gone down. They got some sort of connection saying, oh, this colony of Hawaiians and living
Right.
in the north and bring them home. And
Yeah.
so they paid his trip down there, the newspaper and the
Somehow
local
some historical society or
Yeah.
something? Or okay.
And so then Mom and Dad and I followed them down a year or so later, and they were just they're intrigued that these people live up north and they're
Yeah.
actually Hawaiians.
Well, when I was in Hawaii the one time, we went and stayed over in Arnie Hinksler's apartment on Maui, and then Lois and I, my ex-wife and I, went over to Honolulu. And there was a surfing instructor there, and I thought, man, does he ever look like Herc? And I went up to him and I said, you look like a guy from my hometown named Herc Roland. Well, this guy, a Hawaiian, had lived in B.C.
Yeah.
And he knew all about the history of the Hawaiian people up and down the Fraser River, gold panning, and all these different things. And he'd been a football coach up in the Kelowna area.
Oh, there you
And
go.
he knew more about the connection of Hawaii to British Columbia, the gold rush, the Hudson's Bay Company, the older history and the current history. It was just amazing. This guy had a university degree and worked with delinquent kids and taught surfing. He was amazing. And so there is still actually quite a few people that are aware of this connection, right?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of people with Hawaiian descent up here. A lot of them are still they sort of melted into the
Sure,
native
general.
communities,
Right.
So a lot of them, because of their status, they're not going to say, "Well, hey, I'm not full."
Oh,
blood."
right.
Yeah, a lot of that. But there's tons of Hawaiian people still here on this coast. They brought up so many, They
With
say-
the Hudson's Bay Company originally, right?
Hudson's Bay Company, yeah. They put them to work.
Right, as sailors and...
Yeah, the first ones were sent up here to just get information, find out. Like they wanted to know how these guys were sailing around these ships. Like,
Right.
can we get one of those ships?
Right.
And so the king had sent a few of his henchmen along and said, go and find out what they know and then come back and tell me.
Right.
So that's where it started. But the Hudson's Bay Company put them to work, gainfully employed them.
Right.
so they could stay and work and make some dough.
And came north to here after the Oregon settlement when the Americans got all the land around down to above Vancouver, Washington, up to the 49th parallel. Then your immediate Hawaiian family came up to this area, right?
Yeah. They were sort of living on San Juan Island. But like there's no border, right? So it's just all the Gulf Islands or San Juan.
Well, they didn't settle that to the. I was going to say Bay of Pigs, but that was Kennedy and Oliver North.
That was the Pig War.
The Pig War.
Yeah.
Talk about your Bay of Pigs.
So when you went, for me, it was the only island connection that I had that was interesting with my history is that my aunt went down to the Bahamas in 1950, and she was working for this millionairess from Montreal, and she married the yachtsman. She married the guy that ran the yacht, and he went back generations in the Bahama Islands. And the Caribbean island history is pretty fascinating too. But when you went back to the Hawaiians, I mean, you must have had connections that went back in all directions, in all age.
Yeah, a lot of the people with the last name Naukana, which was our family name, they all came out in droves to see who would be who we could make a connection
how
with.
you were connected.
Yeah. And so way back in the Kamehameha days, if your name was Naukana, you were pretty much related to anyone else who was named Naukana.
Right.
But it's now become like, it was only a one name. You didn't have Bill Naukana.
Right.
Or anything like that. It was just Naukana.
Well, I've read that the Mormons who keep, for strange reasons we won't go into on this show, genealogical records. And what's really fascinating about the South Sea Island people generally is that they know their history orally. They can actually sing and have great memory of the history going on for generations. Is that true of the Hawaiian people as well as the Southern?
Yeah, I just got a taste of that this last trip down. I just got back in the first week in December, and I stayed for at least a week on the Big Island with a lady who is a genealogist. I do a lot of genealogy, but it's just sort of armchair, you know, it's all on my own. But she knows what she's doing, and she knows all about those old...
Well, you know what they say is the most... People challenge those oral records, but they say the oral records can be as accurate as anything. The inaccuracies appear as when oral records are transferred to the written down records. Yeah. That's when things get mixed up.
That's when it gets...
But when people can, in a sense, sing or memorize or orally recite their ancestry, they found that in many cases those are as absolutely accurate as you can imagine.
Yeah.
So do you feel a sense of connectedness when you go there?
Yeah, you know, I do. I do way more than, like the other side of our thing was the native roots, First Nations roots, and we don't know much about that. Like they buggered up the names so bad. Like,
that's
you know,
right. So hard to trace.
Yeah, the census says it's an Indian woman,
right.
And we'll call her Mary.
Right.
You know, but every second one is an Indian woman named Mary. You know?
Yeah.
Don't have those family names.
I know you
trace.
need to have somebody special. I know I had a girlfriend in Alberta who was of part Native and part Hudson Bay background as well. And interesting, the Hudson Bay was everywhere. And she was looking through a graveyard one day, and her family had denied all the First Nations, all the Native side. And this fellow from the Hobima Reserve came up, and he knew the whole thing.
Yeah.
And she said all of a sudden, instead of, some Indians, there was this fantastic record of all these individuals and people with identities and specific aspects. And this one was a medicine person. This one was, was a peacemaker. This one was good at...
Once you know the name, you can find out a lot about them.
Yeah, that part's really fascinating. I've often wondered myself, people talk about time machines, and I think it would be really neat if you could get into a machine that took you into your DNA.
Yikes.
Well, really,
easy now, easy.
Yeah, but I mean, everything's possible.
Careful what you wish for, there, Davey.
It's like that guy who went into the total immersion tank, William Hurt or something, and he came out an ape. Do you remember that one? But I mean, do you have a sense of when you walk around there, or in Hawaii, of what island or what the life might have been like for you, or a sense of?
That's just starting to sort of scratch the surface now, because I really didn't know a lot about it. I knew my great-grandfather came from there, but I didn't know anything past that. And now I'm like one document away of being able to connect us right through to like way back before recorded history, all through the Kamehamehas and all them.
Because I know even in my family, my aunt told me about a battle that her uncle witnessed And believe it or not, that stretched back to 1813. That's 2 oral histories. So, anyway, we're getting a big helicopter wave here, and it's suggested that we terminate and get somewhat commercial. We'll come back with another song, won't we?
Yes.
Another Auntie Kate. Thank you.
The engineer nerd hit the wrong button.
Take it away.
Am I here now?
Yeah.
Now you're
All
there.
right. Hello. We're going to do another cut off of the second CD. This one is Do You Have This in Blue? It's going to be Thanks a Lot for the Offer. Never have too many offers.
I'd like to say a big hello to Henry, who's out on the road with Alan Coombs. I doubt very much they're listening to the show, but they may have a computer on board by which they can listen to. By the way, this is 107.9.
That's right.
CFSI 931-7999. And we're ever so eager to hear from you, whether you're on a computer, as Maria Cherry could be in England right now, or as people are, north of Salt Spring. I've listened to this radio station on Thetis Island, and it comes in clear as a bell. It's quite amazing. So up there in the Great White North, as far as God knows what, maybe Cortez Island or something, we've got something to say to you about this Salish Sea. Now, Kate, what do you think about that concept of calling this the Gulf of Georgia the Salish Sea? Do you feel some kind of a connection with the part of you that's the marine part of you, the part of you that's...
I just think it's cool to get it. If that's what it was called in the beginning, why did we change it?
Well, because the Europeans came here, and the
Right.
Spanish came looking for gold, and the Russians came looking for fur, and the Boston people came looking for whales, and the British came looking for territory.
And we'll name it after ourselves.
So we all play into this one way or another,
It's all
But
about me.
And since I've been handed the Fernwood Beat for this radio station, myself and Masayo do Tai Chi out there every Tuesday morning, and it's when we go out to the end of the dock, you can look up and see the village on Cooper Island that's now called Penellicut. And it's quite interesting to think of those people coming down to bury their deceased at Walker Hook, and the distances that can be covered by water around here. And I remember Dave telling me when you guys were kids, you probably went to Sydney as much as you ever went to Ganges. Was that still right when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah, you could roll around anywhere. Just
Yeah.
go out and go.
Do you have a boat now?
No. I'm too old to row myself. I need someone out there.
What about John? Brother John, does he have a boat?
He has a boat. He's got the quivering thigh. I don't think it's called that. That's what we call it. It's the the green gold.
The green gold.
Gold.
Which has its own connotations.
Okay.
It used to belong to what was the guy who used to be the head of the union there?
Of the Union.
Yes.
Jimmy Hoffa.
Mel Cuvalier. I don't know.
I can't remember the names now. I'm drawing a
You
blank.
mean of the BCGEU, that union?
Yeah.
Englishman, of course. Glasgow Communist. I don't know.
Anyway, it was his boat.
Oh, okay.
Forestry union, whatever union that is.
Gordon Gibson, but he was on the other side.
Before him.
Yeah. Well, the reason I know the guy. A big loudmouth guy.
Yeah, that's the guy.
What was his name?
Oh, you're going to have to narrow it down for me.
No, but he was a real BC figure. That guy. We know who we're talking
Yeah,
about.
it was his boat, and John got it from him.
But the reason I'm leading up to and asking all these questions is the whole idea of the marine life. Like, not only was the food at Jack Rowland's barbecues very often from the sea, there was an orientation that way, right? Whether it was fish or clams or the laying the stuff in the seaweed and the whole thing. In fact, you even have a sister that renamed herself Marina. What do you think about that?
That was her name. She didn't rename herself.
Oh, that's her real name?
Marina Louise, but we called her
I never
Mary
knew
Lou,
that.
and shortened that to Lou.
Oh, and she just got remarried.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, I saw her in her wedding gown. She gave me a squeeze. I felt pretty, special. She went over to Greenwoods and said hi to everybody. And I have an old friend, Bill Best, that I visit there.
So you got a squeeze out of it.
That's right. Yeah, that was good.
You dog.
That's all I deserved. But it's just the whole idea of the Gulf Islands. I know people here that spend time on the islands, and they've only ever been on pavement. They don't know anything about the water. I'm serious. You know, there are people that live. You know, they put fleecy and bounce in their washer and dryer or whatever, and they go and if they barely shop here, they go off island. They shop in malls, and they spend all their lives on pavement. But you know, the marine around these islands is fantastic. Not just for the bounty, but for the view and the ability to go from A to B on a boat or a canoe. Mm-hmm. You actually did quite a bit of that as a kid, did you? Did you hang around on the beaches in the summer? Did you get out in the water? What'd you do?
There's a real connection to the ocean, you know, because we ate a lot of seafood growing up because, you know, basically for free, but you had to go collect it. But,
right, but it was right there at your doorstep.
It didn't cost you $1.98 or anything.
No.
I used to go get crabbing down in front of our house, and you catch a crab, take it home, cook it, clean it. I used to toothbrush the shell, so it was sparkling bright red. I take it up to sell it to my Auntie Vernice.
Okay.
And she'd scratch her chin and say, "Well, how much you want for it?" I'd say, "Well, I don't know, maybe 50 cents." 50 cents! And she'd go off like a rocket, and she'd fish around in her jar of coins and give you 50 cents begrudgingly. Yeah. 50 cents for a full dinner.
Yeah, but eat for effort.
Cooked and cleaned.
Well, my thing is kayaking. Yeah, and it's not everyone's cup of tea because it bothers people's backs in one way or another, but it works for me, and I take my little girl around, who's 7, Emma, and we go around to Walker Hook because Mr. Caldwell doesn't like us walking on his lands. I know the Rolands get to walk on his land, but some of us lesser people have to take a boat.
It's not what you know, Dave, it's who you know.
Yeah, I know. And who you, whatever. Okay, so we go around, and the last time we went there, we found a headless cougar.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, somebody had taken a cougar, it either died or had been shot or whatever, and that was Emma's show and tell for the day. But it's just fantastic being able to go around with the tides. Now, do you think about tides? Do you think about winds when you're around the water? Are you aware of that kind of stuff?
Always, constantly.
Yeah.
Tides especially.
Yeah, exactly, because I was trying to...
Because when the tide's out, the table's set.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yum,
but I remember Don Laird, who's kind of an avuncular to the rest of you guys, is that him telling me when he was a kid, he'd go out in a dugout canoe and play the eddies, and he could get all the way through active pass just by playing the back eddies, right? And not having to fight the main tide that was going through. Like, there's ways to be on the water that are in harmony with the water and give you a shortcut and all the rest of it. Well, I didn't mean to wax too eloquent about that, but I knew that you guys are really connected to the water in a way that a lot of people don't have a clue.
Yeah, a lot of it, I guess, we learned just from our dad and, you know,
of course,
and uncles and aunts and stuff, but so it's not something I think about often, but
I know, that's why I asked the tide question, because I said to my daughter, if we paddle up to the Fernwood Dock, we're going to look at the tide table first. What? Well, let's go on a flood tide, because the flood tide goes north, right? Mm-hmm. So are we going to be able to go out with some singing? And
sure.
Well, you don't necessarily have to party, but this woman here is meant to sing.
Sing.
And we're here to I've danced to this woman. I've looked longingly at her for years. And I've really enjoyed everything that she's been able to shoot out into the air. It's been incredible.
Well, let's okay. We'll have to forego the your normal ending. How about hurricane?
Oh, all right.
Yeah, this woman is a hurricane, by the way.
It's not a hurricane.
And let's just think about how honored I felt when she came up to me, rolled down the window, and said, "Hey, sailor, got a light." Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. Let's see if Dave can deal out that little piece of that little platter.